So, Michael, normally for these cold opens, we talk about something that's going on in the world of movies, film news, that kind of thing. But this week's cold open is going to be a little bit different. Are you ready for what I've got in store for you?
No, I hate difference and reject it on sight.
Well, I have sent you something, an image which will be on your screen right now.
Yes.
And it's, as you can tell by Michael laughing, he finds it funny, and I find it funny because the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I have to say that, when I saw that for the first time, I laughed so hard. This is one of the funniest pictures I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, there's just something so funny about thick boys, isn't there?
He's got a lot of
cake,
when
Thanos was thick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that picture of Thanos. Yeah. Maybe if the Hunchback looked like this, Esmeralda would actually go for him. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what though, you wouldn't want to have a nice looking butt like that when you're in a cathedral surrounded by priests.
Oh, I see. Oh yeah.
Quasimodo would have had a very bad childhood.
Okay, well, you know what? We were laughing about the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and now you've turned it into
something serious.
Catholic priests raping children.
I tell you what though, if there's one thing that we shouldn't have in our Hunchback of Notre Dame review, it's a combination of very serious subjects with a completely juvenile sense of humour.
Oh yeah, that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past, we give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke, and this week we are celebrating the 25-year anniversary of the release of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and also the release of some stupid, lame, live-action Disney remake or reimagining called Cruella. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about The Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Not The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You don't want to learn a bit more about him.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, you know what he's getting up to nowadays. He's got an OnlyFans. No, I mean, that is not what we're going to be talking about today, of course. We're going to be talking about the actual movie, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Is it Notre? How do you say this?
Well, I think so. So Notre Dame, I think, is an American thing. Because I also know, by the way, there is a city in Kentucky called Versailles, and they pronounce it Versailles.
Yeah, that's not surprising. There's a lot of places.
Why do Americans have to be like that?
I know, but of course, there's Notre Dame University.
Yes, exactly.
And I've heard people. That's in Indiana, of course. That was Pete Buttigieg. He was the mayor of that town, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
I think so, anyway. But, yeah, how do they... Yeah, Notre Dame.
I wonder how he'd judge Notre Dame's booty.
Oh. Yeah, he that's why he moved to that place. Anyway, so, yeah, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. That is how it's pronounced in our country, so that's how we're going to pronounce it. It's a 1996 American musical drama film produced by Walt Disney Feature Animation and released by Walt Disney Pictures. It is the 34th animated feature film, and can you tell me, Michael, which of the Disney Renaissance, like what number is it in the Disney Renaissance?
Let me see. So Little Mermaid, Aladdin. Is it like it's? I think it's going to be either 5th or 6th. Let's say
it's not. It's 7th.
Oh, is it 7th? Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah, the 7th movie produced during the Disney Renaissance, and the film, of course, is based off the 1831 novel of the same name by Victor Hugo. Yes, Victor Hugo. The plot centers on Quasimodo, the deformed bell ringer of Notre Dame. And yeah, well, actually, you know what? That's actually a bit of the plot, but whatever. I mean, look, I think everyone knows that. That's pretty standard stuff for this movie. Of course, this movie stars Tom Hughes, Demi Moore. Is it Tom Hulse or Tom Hulse?
I don't really know.
Anyway,
so just go with your instinct.
I know how to pronounce Demi Moore's name. Starring Demi Moore. Oh, directed by Gary Trousdale and Kirk Wise, by the way. Just to point that out, I should have said that. Tony Jay, Kevin Kline, Paul Kandal, Jason Alexander, Charles Kimbrough, Mary Wicks, and David Ogden Stiers also star in this movie. It was released on June the 21st, 1996, Michael. Its language is English, even though it's set in France. And can you tell me, what the budget was for The Hunchback of Notre Dame?
That was a weird noise. I mean, I don't know, because with these animation things, I mean, there's a lot of other things involved. And I mean, obviously you mentioned, I mean, I know who Demi Moore is. I don't know if Demi Moore, like, you shell out big bucks for Demi Moore. Maybe like 40 million.
Well, here's the thing, Michael. I'm not surprised you got it wrong.
Okay, good.
I was expecting you to go a bit higher. But I mean, maybe this includes marketing costs as well, but the budget for this movie is 100 million.
Okay.
Which is insane for an animated movie, which is an hour and a half long. And yeah, $100 million for this movie. Well, I mean, if you're Disney, you're hoping it raked in money at the box office. So tell me, how much did it make, Michael?
Well, I mean, I assume all of these films do decently well. I mean, they kept making films. Like, I don't really remember this film.
Oh yeah, if this film flopped, Disney wouldn't make
No, I mean, no, I know, yeah, obviously they. But I don't know, like, so. I mean, having said that, like, I feel like a lot of the films they did after this weren't that good. Like, I feel like this might have been the beginning of a bit of a slump for Disney. So maybe that suggests they didn't.
They had
do that
Mulan
well.
2 years later, which is.
Oh, did they have Mulan? Okay, yeah. See, I was thinking of like Hercules as like, because I remember
Hercules was 97, I believe. So,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So in that case, I feel like Disney was still doing quite well. I don't think they quite reached, the Chicken Little stage of their existence. So, I mean, it made, let's say, 350 million.
325.
Hey.
So decent guess. So Michael, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Did you like this movie?
Well, I think that I have a quite good idea of why people like this movie and why people dislike this movie. And I would say, on balance, I'm more on the I liked it side. I think this film, it's not perfect. And
give me a quick rundown as why people like it and why people.
Okay, so I think very simply the main reason people like it is because it's a slightly more morally nuanced story. Like the villain's a bit more, the character's a bit more complicated, and it also feels a bit more artistic. I think that's why people like it. I think the reason people dislike it is because they feel like tonally it's a bit weird. And it is Disney trying to deal with some quite heavy stuff in a way that doesn't entirely land because of Disney being, Disney. That's my understanding.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's a fair summary of things. And yeah, of course, I mean, they wanted that Oscar, didn't they? They so badly wanted that Oscar.
Yeah.
And this movie, this is, look, I think we went through it with Pocahontas when we reviewed that movie last year. It was like, oh yeah, Disney are trying to get an Oscar with this, it's a tale about basically genocide and all and that, but it's a animated kids movie. It's for kids, but it can be powerful as well. This along the same lines, and even more so, they up the ante. Maybe in some places they might have jumped the shark. But yeah, that's the Hunchback.
Jumped the gargoyle.
Jumped the gargoyle. Yes, indeed. So that's the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Did I like it? That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of. I guess the bits I liked, bits I didn't. Overall, I'm not here's the thing. It's part of the Disney Renaissance, but if this was just a movie on its own, I would not consider it part of it, like a good group of movies.
Yeah.
Thank God Mulan happened. Otherwise, there would have been a series of the Disney Renaissance would have ended like 4 years earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
It would have ended after The Lion King, and then that's it.
Yeah. Are you implying Hercules wasn't a classic?
Sorry about that. So anyway, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. How many nitpicks have we got?
I've got one.
I've got 2 and a lit pick.
Okay, so I'll go first. I think it was needlessly cryptic of Esmeralda to say the whole, like, when you wear this golden band, you'll hold the city in your hand. I know it's just a plot thing, but it obviously, like, if it's important to her that Quasimodo is able to find her, you think you just say, yeah, this is a map of the city, but in necklace form. But obviously, there was no reason for her to be so poetic about it.
Yeah, great. That's a good nitpick, Michael. Well done. Very decent. Okay, so mine, my first nitpick. This captain joins Frollo, who of course is the Minister of Justice, on the same day the Festival of Fools is taking place. So lovely coincidence there.
Maybe they brought him in to restore order in advance. Maybe they were like, it's a bit like, you want to bring in lots of police officers in advance of any mass public gathering if you're a hero.
Yeah, if you're a hero, that's what you want to do. Just bring the police into every mass gathering.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Frollo didn't say that, so surely he would have.
Yeah.
So there you go. And next up, none of the characters sound French. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
Not even for comedic purposes.
There's no like, ooh la la, oh, she's sexy Esmeralda, she's sexy gypsy woman, or I don't like.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an offensive portrayal of how French people sound.
Yeah, there's a bit where like one of the gargoyles I think says something in France like "Bonjour" or something like that.
Yes.
But I don't think he even says it in a particularly French accent. It's kind of weird because you'd think like there's all this lovey-dovey stuff going on, where kind of in the middle with Quasimodo having a crush on her, and there's no bit where someone goes like, "Oh, you have the romance, eh?"
Okay, can you give us more of that French accent, Michael? I gave you one there.
Okay. Esmeralda, she is so sexy.
Thank God you teared yourself up and spent a couple of seconds thinking about that one.
Thank you. I know. I really wanted to make sure I 100% nailed it.
That's the thing. It's not Notre Dame, and I can't remember Beauty and the Beast whilst I've seen that. That's also set in France, but you had a bunch of characters. It's literally in Paris.
Yeah, Luminaire's like French.
Yeah, well, it's in Paris. Yeah, good point. Yeah, it is. Yeah, but this one is in Paris. It's Notre Dame, an iconic French, I guess, landmark. You got the Eiffel Tower, you got Notre Dame. What else you got? You got that massive bridge down south, the highest suspension bridge in the world, or the longest. Those are the French things that I know and love.
The Louvre.
Yeah, the Louvre. And
I think that was a palace at this point.
Okay, well, nobody is speaking French, and that to me is not good. It
I mean,
doesn't feel like it's in France.
Yeah, in Mulan, don't you get some people like speaking with kind of like there's some of the people like the authority figures in Mulan have like Chinese accents, don't they?
But that's the thing though. Like obviously they speak with American or English accents in Mulan. I can't remember, but it's it's obvious. Like they're in China, obviously. Like that's pretty obvious. But this one, like they're speaking with English accents. It's like they're in England, but they're not. They're in France. That's the.
Yeah, he's saying it's almost like it's too close to England.
Yeah.
Like it's so close to England that they need to make sure that
you take a random scene.
I mean, French people hate English people.
Yeah, you take a random scene that Notre Dame isn't in it. It's like, oh, this could be England. So that's what I'm saying. You need to make it more French. Anyway, so that's just.
They should be eating baguettes the whole time.
Yeah, just eating baguettes. Doing. One of the gargoyles was going to throw stuff in a mime earlier. We need more of that. So we know it's in France. Anyway, so we got that, and also here's my lit pick. The fetishization of Notre Dame after it burned down by I guess right wingers on the internet was something that I enjoyed very much so, and I loved it. And thank you Notre Dame for bringing me that bit of enjoyment. And of course I'm sorry it burned down. I didn't want to see it burn down, but every cloud has a silver lining, and that was particularly fun.
Yeah, I just wish they hadn't rebuilt it as a mosque. Which they did, I assume.
Yeah, no, it is a mosque now. That's why Marie Le Pen's going to win. So
exactly.
They shouldn't have done that. They should have kept it as a cathedral, but no, they had to go and build a damn mosque there. Anyway, so
a Notre Dame mosque.
Yeah, but Notre Dame is still a paragon for Judeo-Christian values, as they all said. Emphasis on the Judeo bit, of course, because those Catholics love those Jews back when Notre Dame was being built. Anyway, so that's that's all lit picks and nitpicks. So we have got a plot here, Michael, and the plot centers on Quasimodo, the deformed bell ringer of Notre Dame. He's deformed. I didn't catch that. I don't know. He seems okay to me. No, he struggles to gain acceptance into society, Michael. As somebody who looks like him probably would. That all makes sense. But what really doesn't make a lot of sense, and you alluded to this before, is that fact that Disney have made a movie, a children's movie out of this. And this is from Wikipedia. The film is considered to be one of Disney's darkest animated films, as its narratives explore such mature themes as infanticide, lust, damnation, anti-ziganism. That is a hard word to say, man.
And, of course, the greatest crime of all, losing to a bird.
Losing to a bird, yes. And genocide. And sin, of course, but sin really covers a lot of that. So
and also they're Catholic, so everything's a sin.
Yeah, exactly. And I just wrote that was from Wikipedia, and I just wrote next to that they're going for an Oscar because they are. That's what I thought when I saw this. It's like, and I remember after watching it for the first time, I watched a Lindsay Ellis video on it, and she said like, "Oh, why did they make this movie?" And she's put a picture of Jeffrey Katzenberg up there. And there was Oscar music in the background, and I'm like, yes, this all makes sense because again, we talked about it with Pocahontas, and they just fully wanted to make this a movie which would be nominated for Best Picture and perhaps win Best Picture, and putting all these adult themes into the kids movie. Oh god, they were really trying. They were really trying, and they have outdone
Notre Dame had to walk so the pianist could run.
Exactly. So what do you think, Mike? Do you think it's a good idea to put all this stuff in a kids movie about infanticide and genocide?
I think it's a interesting question because I think obviously you can't do it justice in this film. I think you can make an argument that from a film writing standpoint, it does mean this film has more going on in it than your average Disney film. And I guess the question is, are you a completist who wants it to go like basically saying, well, the fact it touches on it but can't really do the topic, its proper justice is a bad thing. I would say that I actually appreciated the fact that as an adult, there was more going on in this film than just like, oh no, it's the bad guy. She wants to turn the dogs into a coat, to reference Cruella, for example, topically.
No, that's like genocide as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's how the working class have to, well, it's mainly genocide is about, the oppression of the working class that have to, these rich people just literally kill, hundreds of what they consider to be dogs just to have a nice coat.
That's true, yeah. No, but yeah, I mean, I think it would be, tell you what they should have done is Silence of the Lambs crossover. Frollo wants to make a coat out of Esmeralda.
Okay, what about a Lord of the Rings crossover and Frollo is called Frodo?
Similar names. No, but yeah, basically, I mean, it's, I wouldn't really say I would make it as a criticism. I'd say like watching this film, I'm like, yeah, sure, there is something palpably missing from this film's exploration of these ideas. But I think there's also something palpably there that isn't really there in Michael, a lot of other Disney films.
I asked the question, and I'll say once again, you've absolutely nailed it. As how I feel, it's like, it's not the best exploration of this, but you know what, I'd rather have it in there when I'm watching a kids movie than
this is a real meeting of the mind.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. I mean, we'll get into the plot, but I'm not impressed by it. And I'm like, well, thank God we've got stuff to talk about in terms of religion and, like, Frollo trying to bone Esmeralda. Like, thank God we've got that in, and the sin of, like, lust and all of that shit. Like, otherwise, this movie would be pretty...
Hercules.
Yeah, it'd be pretty bad. It'd just be awful. So, thank God. Yeah, thank God for this review, at least. We've got that to talk about. So, anyway, the plot. So, we start off, of course, in 1462. I'll just say what happens basically to set it up. There's a group of gypsies who are trying to sneak illegally into Paris and are ambushed by Judge Claude Frollo, Paris's Minister of Justice, and his soldiers.
More like ICE, because they're like the border patrol.
Yeah, but there is nothing similar to ICE. Like, his name isn't similar to ICE, so you can't really say more like ICE.
Yeah,
it's just, it's like ICE. Yeah.
Yeah. What about, more like Paris?
I mean... Yeah, okay. Paris's minister.
Yeah, let's pretend I said that.
Yeah, okay. And his soldiers. A gypsy woman in the group attempts to flee with her deformed baby. Frollo chases and kills her outside Notre Dame. Okay, I'm just going to cut the opening of the movie here. How does he kill her? He literally slaps her.
Yeah.
She falls to the floor. I was like,
yeah.
That's the thing. The priest had picked her up or something, and I was like, wait, is she dead? She literally just fell over, and then that's enough to, like, come on, just put some effort into her. Have fucking Frollo stab her or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can be a bit edgy. Like, people have been dying in Disney films since forever.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
I mean, he goes like 5 seconds later to kill a baby. Like, I'm sure you could have had an actual death. That's the thing. I was so surprised. It was like, wait, that woman's dead now. Okay, wow.
Maybe the only acceptable way to die is to fall down a well. So he should have. That's like the only way that you can. So if it's like dropping an infant down a well, that's fine. So he should have just pushed her down a well.
If I was Frollo, I wouldn't even be mad. Oh, sorry. I wouldn't even be mad at Frollo. Of course, his overall thing, but like he just slapped her. That's not Frollo's fault that she died.
I mean, you should probably you should be mad at him for slapping her because.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's a bad guy, but I'm talking about that murder.
Yeah, he's not guilty of murder.
Yeah, is that murder on him? No, it's.
I mean, yeah, we all learned from the Derek Chauvin trial what it is. It's a reckless disregard for human life, isn't it? It's a reckless endangering of somebody.
Wait,
which isn't the same thing as first-degree murder.
Oh, wait, I don't. Are you doing a joke here?
Well, no, the Derek Chauvin trial, he didn't get charged with first-degree murder. He got charged with second-degree, I think, because it was. So I guess that's it. Basically, he's got second-degree.
I mean, but it's still the Derek Chauvin.
Yeah, it's more it's more manslaughter.
If Frollo kneeled on this gypsy
on her neck for
8 minutes, I'd be like, that would probably kill her. But he didn't. He just slapped her. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course, he then tries to kill Quasimodo, but the cathedral's archdeacon intervenes and accuses Frollo of murdering an innocent woman. Again, I mean, he just slaps her, like, come on. To atone for his sin, Frollo reluctantly agrees to raise the deformed child in Notre Dame as his son, naming him Quasimodo. Quasimodo, and that's how he got his name. So,
yes, by somebody naming him it. That's how everyone gets their name.
But he probably had a name beforehand, right?
Yeah. I mean,
so it wasn't actually his birth name.
Yeah, that would have been a great twist. If this was like Star Wars, he would have found out his real name was Quasi Kenobi.
Yeah, no, his real name was like Gabriel because he's an angel.
Oh yeah, that would have been that would have been so powerful. Like, or his real name's Jesus.
Oh, you need to pay me money, Disney, to get those incredible insights. But his real name.
Yeah, it would have won the Oscar if it had
exactly.
that.
Okay, so yeah, same Disney shit over and over again is the first thing I wrote. I forgot how angry I was when I watched this for the first time. You got a character who is locked up. This is of course Quasimodo. He's 20 years old now. He's locked up and trapped, and he wants more. He's trapped in this tower in Notre Dame. Like Mulan, had the same issue. She felt trapped. Fucking Little Mermaid.
Ariel, stuck under the ocean.
Pocahontas. I don't know what her deal was. She had a pretty
stuck in
sweet life,
America.
But she still had the I want more song. I don't.
Well, she didn't have white people around.
Oh yeah,
so that's that's the worst thing that could possibly.
Yeah, she needed
happen.
white people to come in and make her life worthwhile, because just living living in a family with a beautiful scenery.
Yeah, she didn't have any casinos.
She didn't have those casinos, so she needed those. And then Aladdin, of course, he was just a street thief, but he wanted more. And he obviously then got to be a prince. And Beauty and the Beast, Belle singing about how, she's more than just a. I can't remember. She does that singing thing, but again, it's just so. And the thing is, I wrote this because, of course, you could criticize it about that's all the Disney movies, but it's just so obvious with this Hunchback. It's like, oh, he's literally trapped again in Notre Dame, and this is like, of all those movies, only Mulan comes after, and it's like, again, we're getting this thing where this person's trapped, and he wants to go out there. He literally sings a song called "Out There," like every other main Disney character.
Yeah, I was actually I was not gonna lie. I was expecting him to say like "part of their world," and I was like, oh wait, that's Little Mermaid.
That's Little Mermaid, exactly. And it's just, it was just because it's literally the first proper scene in the movie. Because you have the opening bit where the backstory is explained. Anyway, so Quasimodo does decide to do that with the Festival of Fools. He decides to go out there, and he sees Esmeralda, who thinks he's wearing a mask, but of course he isn't, because he is really that fucking ugly. And
tell you what, when you see people today and you don't know whether or not they're wearing a mask.
Oh god.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And he becomes King of Fools since he is so ugly. But then he gets humiliated in a very in a very harsh way, you have to say.
Well, it's so interesting also because like the way I was going to put this as a nitpick. My nitpick was going to be who brings lassos to a festival, because it's just like randomly out of nowhere. There are these,
were they planning to
there
do
seem to be
this?
loads.
Is this the thing that always happens with the King of Fools?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I wish they would have because kind of like the way it sets up, it seems like it's supposed to be organic.
He watches this shit every year from his fucking tower. He should. That's the best day of the year. He should know what goes on in this festival, like inside out. So I assume he wouldn't be so happy if he knows that's what happens to the King of the Fools. They get fucking so this must have been a, out of the
this
blue
was
thing.
the day they decided to bring lassos to the. Because that's the thing. Like they tie him up, and it's kind of like, and it just feels it comes across as like very inorganic. That it's just like it's like it has to show you that that Quasimodo's sad and like that his situation's bad. And also that Esmeralda's nice and Frollo's evil. So they're like, oh, we'll just have it so everyone just starts throwing vegetables and fruit at him, and they tie him up and like spin him around. That was the one. Well, there was a big moment where I was thinking like, why is this happening?
Yeah, I mean, what's that word which is like in the moment that is said many times in Mamma Mia by Colin?
I don't remember.
But it's like it's something that happens spontaneously. That's it.
Oh, spontaneously, yes. Yeah. And that's the thing.
Spontaneously, this cries like, you know what? Yeah, let's fucking throw tomatoes at him. Let's get our lassos out.
Well, I think the issue is like they go from celebrating him to like attacking him, and it comes. I think that's why it feels so inorganic, because obviously I'm not saying that it's hard to believe that a bunch of angry villagers would be, or I know they're not villagers, but peasants would turn on some guy because people were stupid back then.
Okay, well, I'll tell you. You've highlighted a good inconsistency there, and I've got another one. A big long rant about this. See, here's the thing.
Oh, good.
Esmeralda, saves Quasimodo, and she's angry at Frollo, and she does a power fist in his direction and shouts like "justice" or whatever.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever. She then says later that he let the crowd torture that boy, and if only someone were to stand up to him. Now the crowd, I assume if Frollo intervened, the crowd would not like him because they were having fun doing that. They were smiling. They were happy. So that doesn't make sense. Like if he intervened, the crowd would hate him. She has this moment with Quasimodo where he tells her that Frollo said he was a monster, and she seems disgusted by that, forgetting that she thought his face was an actual mask. But whatever. But here's the thing: that is how the peasants treated Quasimodo. They did see him as a monster, and that wasn't because of Frollo. Like that, that you could say, well, maybe it was the guards, because the guards started it. But those peasants were very enthusiastic, tossing tomatoes at Quasimodo, weren't they? So therefore, the people did see him as a monster. So Frollo was therefore correct in warning him and just giving it to him straight. We talked about in Marriage Story, Michael. I like it when people give it to me straight. Like just give it to me straight up. Will people think I'm a monster? And Frollo, he doesn't hide anything. He comes straight out and says, yeah, people are going to think you're a monster. And he's the bad guy for that, when they clearly do think he's a monster, And Frollo never tied Quasimodo up and threw fruit at him, did he? He just
no.
Yeah, he just gave him, some lessons and, had dinner with him. I don't know. I think, like, obviously Frollo is a bad guy, to be serious, but, like, Esmeralda being like, oh, yeah, this is all Frollo's fault, how, you were treated so badly. It's like, did you not see the amount of people who were very happy throwing tomatoes at him? I mean, come on. What are we doing here? That was my interpretation of that. I'm very annoyed at that. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I remember thinking when I was watching it, thinking like it would make sense if Frollo was the one who tried to instigate the violence, because it would make him seem more evil, and also it would make sense why they suddenly like turn on him, because you'd be like, okay, this authority figure, I guess, just like has maybe got the crowd riled up. Like maybe you could have a moment where he starts like applauding, sarcastically, goes like, I say, let's decorate this king, and then I know throws like a tomato at him, and then everyone does, like that way it'll be like he's like the ringleader, and it would make sense why they suddenly turn on him. But yeah, also I mean there's the bigger issue, like you say, which is the fact that Frollo isn't the only person out there who considers Quasimodo
he
to
has
be...
he has this line later, Quasimodo, where he says, you told me the world was cruel, but the only cruel person was you. And I'm just like, did you not see the amount of people who were throwing stuff? That wasn't just Frollo, pal. That was fucking everyone in the fucking city of Paris who were doing that to you. Like, I look, just alter that scene and this theme makes sense. But you have this scene where they're gleeful, they're laughing, these peasants, throwing stuff at him, and they're not being told to do it. They're loving it. So again, I just think that's just bad writing, and it doesn't make sense at all. Anyway, so Frollo wants to find Esmeralda because he is annoyed at her. But he's also horny for her, so there's that. He burns down Paris to find her, Michael.
Yeah, and they say romance is dead.
And yeah, Quasimodo also thinks he can get Esmeralda, but then she kisses Captain Phoebus right in front of him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, doesn't she? That must.
He goes full incel.
Quasimodo. I mean, Frollo goes full incel, really, doesn't he? Frollo's the biggest incel here. Quasimodo is definitely more of a blue pill guy, shall we say? That's who Quasimodo is. Quasimodo is all those people. He doesn't actually transition to being red pill, but all those stories, in that red pill subreddit of like how women disrespect men. That's the Quasimodo could have wrote them if he went down a different path, but thankfully he didn't. So Frollo says, of course, I realise we're getting onto the end of the plot because it's just so thin, but Frollo says he will attack the Course of Miracles, because he wants to find Esmeralda. So Quasimodo helps Esmeralda, and basically, saves her life. And I was thinking, they might lead Frollo right to the Court of Miracles when they were doing that, because Frollo says, I know where the Court of Miracles is, but we'll attack at dawn. And so then Quasimodo rushes over to help, to find the Court of Miracles to stop it. And I was like, I bet he's going to lead them.
Yeah.
Right,
it is quite predictable.
And he did.
Yeah. I mean, the idea that it was kind of, I mean, it's the Indiana Jones thing, isn't it? Like one person always follows the other person there, so it doesn't matter. And yeah, I mean, when it happened, I was just like, well, yeah, that makes sense. That's what you could have predicted to happen. And I think it's weird because obviously, I don't know, like, it's strange to me that, because it basically means Frollo in saying this was kind of like assuming that Quasimodo would know where the Court of Miracles is, even though Frollo didn't really have a reason to think that Quasimodo would know that.
I mean,
so I was kind of thinking, I mean, it's not impossible.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
it would be a decent guess.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it just seemed like it was kind of, it was. I guess it really worked out for him because it could have been that he said like, I know where the Court of Miracles is, and then in a different scenario, Quasimodo just sits there and goes, "Damn, I wish I did."
Oh, yeah. Well,
and then Frodo's like waiting, like, where is Quasimodo?
Yeah, I know where the Court of Miracles.
Shows up next day, like it's really awkward. Like, so did you attack the Court of Miracles? No, I couldn't find it. I thought you know where it was.
Yeah, yeah. Quasimodo's just like, well, damn, that makes one of us, I guess, because I don't know where it is. So yeah, good luck to you. Anyway, so Esmeralda, of course, is captured. She is about to be set on fire, and Quasimodo is in literal chains, literally. But of course he breaks out of it. And here's the thing at this point, like there's this whole thing about this movie barely even tries in the plot points. They barely even try, man. It's like Quasimodo's just there, like, oh no, it's worthless, it's pointless, I'm giving up. And then out of nowhere, he's just like, no, actually, I'm gonna break out of these chains and I'm gonna save Esmeralda.
Yeah, it seems like he could basically just choose to do it.
I mean, there must be some reason as to why, because there isn't a reason, or it just. I don't know. It just again so lazy, because everything about this plot just seems very lazy. So we get, of course, he breaks out. He's quite strong, isn't he, Quasimodo? He breaks out and he swoops in to save Esmeralda, like a superhero. All very predictable. But then here's another thing: Esmeralda apparently is dead, and then they chicken out of it, and she's actually alive. So that's great. Did you think she was dead, Michael? Did you think she was dead?
Well, to be honest, I didn't think she was going to be dead permanently, actually. I thought there was...
I thought she was because of what...
That's interesting.
The first time I saw it, I thought she was because of the gypsy woman, the mother of Quasimodo dying early. I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah,
people can die very easily in this.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah. I think the problem is, like, basically, in some sense, Quasimodo wanted to get with her, and Phoebus wanted to get with her, so it's a bit like, for her to die, then neither of them get it, and that's not fair.
Okay, that's not fair. Anyway, so Esmeralda, as of course, battling with Quasimodo against what's he called? Frollo. How do I forget his name? Frollo. And yeah, we get a very Lion King ending with our protagonist, hanging over a ridge, about to be engulfed by flames, and the main bad guy like standing over him. Just like, you're gonna die now. And of course, it doesn't happen, and it's actually the bad guy that falls into those flames. Is it just me, Michael, or did you get a lot of Lion King vibes from that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's obviously the classic thing where you need to kill people in Disney, like there's certain ways the hero can kill the villain. Obviously, the hero can't snap the villain's neck or stab the villain, but killing them that way, it's like, and what's that line in The Simpsons? It's like, for legal reasons, it is the ground that will kill you, not us. I remember that line. I can't remember the context of it. But that's kind of how I feel like that's the rule that Disney has. It's like, well, for legal reasons, it's the ground that kills the villain, not the hero. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where it needs to happen.
Like in Batman Returns, where I can't remember. Batman kind of kills Two-Face.
Oh yeah, the Joker.
No, it's.
Oh no, sorry, with the coins.
Yeah, with the coins.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I didn't kill him. He hit the ground. I didn't push him, but I mean, he practically did. Anyway, so of course. A difference to the novel, Michael, is in the novel everybody dies.
Yes, I have heard that.
However, in this version, 3 people who die actually live: Captain Phoebus, Esmeralda, and the Hunchback of Notre Dame, Quasimodo himself. Only the bad guy Frollo dies, and the reason why that is Kirk Wise has an explanation. We knew it would be a challenge to stay true to the material while still giving it the requisite amount of fantasy and fun most people would expect from a Disney animated feature. We were not going to end it the way the book ended, with everybody dead. I mean, here's the thing. People can make excuses, well, it actually works for the plot, But at the end of the day, I mean, Kirk Wise spelled it out there. It's like, this is a Disney movie, guys. You know, first and foremost, we're not having our heroes die at the end of the movie. And I think, that's people can say, oh, you know, it just shows like Quasimodo can be accepted into society, and that was his reward for being so good, you know, and all of that. But like, it's a Disney movie. They didn't want everybody to die at the end, as Kirk Wise outlined very clearly. What do you say to that, Michael?
No, yeah. I mean, to be fair, like, I kind of understand, like, if they were going to adapt this, they were never, ever going to stick to the proper Disney ending. I mean, to be fair, it's obviously worth noting that a lot of classic fairy tales have more brutal endings. Like, I'm pretty sure in the original story of Cinderella, the wicked stepsisters, like, hack off parts of their feet to try and get it to fit in the glass slipper. And shockingly, that does not happen in the Disney version.
In the original Ratatouille, the rat kills the person. And inhabits. It
goes into his brain.
It goes into his brain and inhabits the body that way.
Yeah. Do you know what I say? I say release the Hugo cut.
Ah, great.
No, but yeah. I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, the real question is kind of, is it okay? And I guess, like, the thing is, if it wasn't based on an original story, I wouldn't be sat there going, well, all of the main characters should have died. It's kind of just like, obviously, you know that they did die in the original, so it makes it a conscious decision that they didn't die. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think ultimately there was no way.
Absolutely. So but here's the thing: we're talking about the cookie cutter ending, as it were. But that is the problem with the whole plot. At least it's like it's all just so predictable. Everything about it. You could write this plot like half asleep. It feels like. You know the phrase like on fumes, Michael, when there's no actual fuel, and it's like this is what this movie feels like. It's like Disney on fumes. Like, it's just, okay, we've got to crank this one out. We've got all the the characters in place. We've got their predictable plot points. We've got this character who's trapped, who doesn't feel like they can express themselves, manages to escape. Saves this girl who's his love interest, and the bad guy dies at the end, and everyone lives happily ever after. It's just so tiring.
Well, what I find interesting about this, actually, because I've been trying to watch some of the classic Disney films I haven't seen for reasons, and one of the things I've like realized that makes it good is sometimes when you can tell that they've put in like filler to like fill up, because obviously it's like based on a really short fairy tale or something. They've put in some filler to bulk it out, but you can think, yes, this is actually good. Like, they've actually added something, but it does add something to the overall story. And I think that's something which Disney have to do a lot, because usually Disney are adapting, very short fairy tales. Like, I'm pretty sure that, all of the books really that Disney adapt are generally a lot shorter, and usually from like collections of books. And this is obviously, I think, the exception, in that I imagine that The Hunchback of Notre Dame, is quite a long, it feels like based on this, it's probably like kind of quite an epic story. So I'd imagine it's got a lot more going on. And in this case, I think it's kind of like they were condensing it. And I feel like because they were condensing the original source material, it meant that they didn't feel the need to be as creative. That's kind of my theory. Like, I feel like with other things they've adapted, because it's shorter, they've added stuff. They've had to think about like, what things can we add to make this better? In this case, it's just like they were taking things away, and they're like, yeah, we're just, but we'll keep this scene because it's in there.
Okay, so basically, because they ripped off the book, that means that they can't be creative with it.
Well, no, I'm not saying it. No, I'm not saying it. They can't be creative. I'm just saying I think that's possibly why this film in particular feels like there's not as much passion. A reason,
Michael, but I'm not giving it a pass.
No, sorry, I'm not. Yeah, it's not an excuse. Yeah, I'm just saying it's a reason. It's not an excuse. Yeah, basically.
Right, fine. No, still, yeah, awful plot. I mean, awful, boring plot. Just so boring. But anyway,
yeah.
Okay, this is a good transition, because what's not boring is the themes of this movie, Michael, and that's thank God for that. Otherwise, this would be one of the worst Disney movies of all time. And my God, I love this from Wikipedia. The Hunchback of Notre Dame's thematic concerns include infanticide, lust, damnation and sin, as well as the belief in a loving, forgiving God. It also implies, according to Mark Pinsky, a condemnation of abortion, euthanasia, and racism, and a moral resistance to genocide. Well, thank God about the moral resistance to genocide, and not the moral advocation. Thank God. But anyway, does it have a stance on racism as well? But anyway, the condemnation of abortion and euthanasia is something that, to be honest, of course, you've got the Catholics involved, and yes, I imagine, abortion and euthanasia would be frowned upon. I mean, did you see that in this movie, Michael?
No, I mean, well, yeah, the only thing it can be is literally the fact that he doesn't murder a baby. which isn't really in any way related to. I mean, obviously, like abortion, the whole thing is the debate is like about the mother's bodily autonomy.
Abortion, you abort a fetus, not a baby, Michael.
Yeah, exactly that as well. So it's kind of like, well, it's two things. It's one, the fact that it's not a baby. It's and obviously there are moral debates about personhood. But the point being, everyone agrees that a born baby is a baby and you shouldn't kill it. And then two, obviously, yeah, like I say, is the fact that a fetus is in a woman's body, and therefore the debate is often usually framed around the fact that a woman has a right to decide what's going on in her own body. And in this case, Frollo throwing a baby into a well because he thinks it's ugly is really not particularly relevant. And also, I mean, euthanasia as well. Like, euthanasia is usually applied to like physical
old people
disabilities.
Dying. Like, is he saying like the movie's like, well, you know what, we should put Quasimodo out of his misery and just kill him, but the movie's against that because that doesn't happen. Normally in a normal society, you just kill him because he's so fucking ugly. But this movie doesn't do that. So this proves this movie is anti-euthanasia. Yeah. Let's see. Anyway, let's get onto the actual actual theme. So one of them was a moral resistance to genocide. This is actually within the movie. This is actually correct. And of course, Frollo says a lot of things about gypsy vermin, and he's a fascist. He thinks everything is corrupt and rotten. But of course, you have this line in the movie which sums things up pretty well. And it's as good. I mean, you don't really need any other analysis really. Like the line in a couple of the songs: "Who is the monster and who is the man?"
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that. They spell it out very easily. Who is the monster and who is the man? Of course, Esmeralda
is the monster.
Esmeralda is the monster, absolutely, for not giving it up to Quasimodo. No, Esmeralda, of course, she says that Frollo was wrong and we shouldn't judge people on what they look like and what race they are. And she's very much against oppression and injustice. And Frollo is meant to be the embodiment of that. He is actually the monster. However, Quasimodo, even though he looks incredibly ugly, he is not the monster. He is in fact the man. He's actually more than a man. He's an angel, Michael. He's an angel. He lives in Notre Dame. He's so nice and kind to everybody. But yeah, he's just because of the way he looks, he's not treated very well, and that is that says a lot about society, wouldn't you say?
No, it really does say a lot about society. It just speaks to how
what happens to the nice guys.
People exactly, yeah. Even when just because they've got a hunchback, they're not respected. I think the real genocide we need is against all of these thoughts that chase after Chad. No, yeah, I mean the thing is, obviously, regarding the genocide thing specifically, obviously it's one of the films. It's a less complex moral, because obviously there's not too much to break down aside from just that genocide is bad. But I suppose it's good in that I think a lot of the time in Disney there has been this shorthand of like, if things look evil then they're evil. Like Disney has often used visuals to communicate who's the bad guy and who's the good guy. And obviously in this case that is actually being turned on its head, because Quasimodo, who looks physically deformed, is of course a very nice guy. In that sense, a bit more meaningful.
Just like Frozen. With hands, yes. He looked like the embodiment of good, but he's actually evil. So yes. There you go. This movie has similarities in that respect. I like your yes there. That was a very enthusiastic yes. So I appreciate it.
I love Frozen.
Okay. But Frollo, he's literally dancing with the I guess, I don't know, the devil, like in the Hellfire song. He's like kissing it, like yes. I'm. It's clear he's evil, like, and you have an ending shot of the movie where he's like looks like a demon, where he's about to kill Quasimodo. It's like, oh yes, it's fairly obvious to the point the movie is making that Frollo is actually the monster and Quasimodo is a man, and again it's a kids movie, so you'd expect the point to be obvious, but you know what, it's taking that aspect, because here's the thing, I'm going to reference the Lindsay Ellis video again. Apparently that was not that concept, who is the monster, who is the man, is not really talked about a lot, or that concept is not fleshed out, I guess, a lot in other adaptations of the Hunchback of Notre Dame, but it is in this movie, of course. It's probably the main point, and so therefore, and it's a really simple point to make, and it works. So I guess credit to the movie for going in that direction.
Yeah,
it seems almost obvious, but apparently, according to that video I watched again, I don't know.
I haven't read the book.
The novel. Sorry.
I always read the books for the films we review.
Yeah. Anyway.
Looking forward to Lord of the Rings.
Okay. And yeah, she also makes a point in that video that Frollo sees Esmeralda as an object. It's basically something for him, like a possession. While, Quasimodo, he wants to get with her, but when she doesn't want to reciprocate, he's like, you know what, that's okay. I'm not going to burn down Paris, or I'm not going to kill you if I don't get you. That's fine. You've made your choice. So Quasimodo is woke in that respect. So yeah, no, but there's the whole point. Like, Quasimodo is like this angel, like the ultimate good guy. Like, literally lives in Notre Dame, which is a symbol for God, I guess, in this movie. And yeah, Frollo is very evil. Dances with the devil and all that. So if you can't get that, Michael, out of this movie, then you're really struggling. But hopefully the kids at home will learn that, and there won't be any more. There won't be any more genocides. You shouldn't judge people on what they look like, and you shouldn't oppress people on what race they are or any other identity. It's what inside. Yeah, it is what is inside that counts. There we go, got it out. And that is this, of course. Yeah, a very, very Disney-esque message, but of course that's the truth. At the end of the day, and this is something you can very easily discern from this novel. So that's all good. And just to add on to that point, this is from Wikipedia. This is from Kirk Wise. One of the first changes made to accommodate Disney's request was to turn the villainous Claude Frollo into a judge rather than an archdeacon, thus avoiding religious sensibilities in the finished film. As we were exploring the characters, especially Frollo, we certainly found a lot of historical parallels to the type of mania he had. The Confederate South, Nazi Germany, take your pick, explained Wise. Those things influenced our thinking. Yeah, fascist, racist, evil people who like oppressing people based on their race and killing them, genocide and all that. Yeah, that's Frollo. It's very clear. But anyway, let's talk about one of the things he also said in that paragraph, which is, they changed Frollo from an archdeacon to a judge, thus avoiding religious sensibilities in the finished film. What do you make of that, Michael? The church is good, basically. That is the message of this movie. The church is against all that horrible stuff, and Frollo, we can't make Frollo the archdeacon evil because we don't want to offend the church and religious people. We don't want to. So the church is just good. That seems to be the message of this movie. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's a bit cowardly because obviously the church is the Catholic Church has historically had hypocritical people.
Well, thank you for specifying the Catholic Church.
Well, no, sorry. The reason
all the other churches, it's just the Catholic Church, right?
No, I mean the only reason I'm saying that is because when one says the church, it implies the Catholic Church. So all churches have had, and also all religions have had hypocritical people in them. I guess unless the religion is outwardly evil, in which case I guess the people wouldn't be hypocritical. Like the Aztec religion that was just like cutting people's hearts open probably didn't have many hypocrites, unless there were some people who were avid believers who didn't chop out people's hearts. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's to be diplomatic, it does come across as just because obviously it does. The message, it shouldn't have been offensive, I guess, to have made him a deacon, and therefore it kind of seems like, I guess if anything, it was overly cautious, and it's they should have just stuck to their guns, I guess. What do you think? I mean, do you think that they should have been sensitive to the Catholics?
Well, I get the overall theme here, that like the movie says like Jesus was an outcast as well, and that of course is quite true, and they do make this statements about the church is a place where if you're different it doesn't matter, solace for everyone who feels like they don't belong. I mean, Notre Dame is literally a sanctuary for people, literally.
Actually, I kind of have a thing going off of that, which just before seeing as you're on this, something I noticed is that the whole topsy in the Fools song, like the song "Hey, we're all fools," in the Festival of Fools, they say this thing about it being topsy turvy, and they say like the kings will be fools and the ugly will be handsome, or whatever. Like they kind of switch all around, and that obviously has some quite interesting Christian connotations. In that one of the things that the Bible talks about is obviously, I guess you maybe are familiar with the idea of like the first, whoever is called the first in this world will be called last in the world of heaven, and whoever's least, and the rich will be poor, and the poor will be rich. Like
will inherit the earth.
Yeah.
When we're done with it.
Yeah, no, but yeah, definitely. Like, there's this idea in Christianity, or I guess Jesusism, where he says like the people who are at the bottom will be at the top, and that's obviously kind of what the gypsy is saying there is kind of a similar idea of like, oh, and also actually the only other thing just quickly on that is that the Esmeralda, I was kind of thinking about it, thinking she's a bit like okay, so this might sound like dodgy at first, but I'm going to say she's a bit like a prostitute. And what I mean by that is that obviously in the Bible, Jesus famously goes out and like befriends the prostitutes, for all the right reasons, to basically be like, oh, these people are outcasts, these people are judged as like, for selling their bodies and things like that. But I, Jesus, understand like they're in a bad situation. That's why I need to do it. And, he goes, hangs out with them. And obviously, I think.
Sorry, I just love how you the right reasons. Like, we know what you're really doing there, Jesus, mate. The right reasons. Oh, I've heard that one before.
Yeah. Exactly. But no, that's the thing. Like, obviously, and in her case, she dances for money. And the implication is that her dances are kind of, sexual. So obviously, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, Disney obviously is not going to have her be a prostitute. But I was thinking she's kind of fulfilling a similar role, which of course does also have religious implications.
Okay, so you heard it here first from Michael. Women who dance sexily, they're basically prostitutes. So there you go.
I'm saying that if a woman dances sexily in a Disney film, then my conclusion is that she would probably be a prostitute in real life.
IRL. Okay, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's the furthest they can go.
So yeah, anyway, so I just wanted to just jump in because obviously you were talking about how talking about how Jesus was an outcast too.
This goes to the whole thing about Esmeralda is like Mary, and you have like Jesus. Quasimodo is like an angel. Notre Dame is like is God. Quasimodo is high. He's like up in the heavens like God is, and like Frollo, when he kills that woman at the start of the movie, he's like scared by God because he's committed an evil act, and therefore an evil person committing an evil act, they're scared of God. They're scared of God's wrath. That must mean like God's good and the religion is good. Yeah, and that's basically the point of all this, or Christianity maybe if you don't want to say all religion because it's only about Christianity. And again, I think it's quite it's an uncontroversial thing because if you imagine, look, we're going to talk about right now about sorry, are we going to talk about right now? No, we're going to talk about in a bit. I'm going to talk about in a bit, religious people's reactions to this movie, and there were some positive religious reactions, but there were also some, quite negative reactions from religious people. And I just imagine if they had made the Frollo an archdeacon, like he's in the novel, to be fair, and like he's evil and he had the same themes, that would have been there would have been a lot of anger, even though there really shouldn't have been, but there definitely would have been. Disney were very cowardly, and I think you put it, they were cowardly to move on from that. And I just want to say, Michael, in terms of, I know you're a religious person, so don't get too offended here when I say this, but here I go. I think a religion has been used, of course, this movie is famously anti-genocide. Religion has been used in a lot of cases to advocate for genocide, and also, the church, you could say, well, yes, it has been. The church is a solace for people who are different. I get that, but the church has also throughout history, or any religion really, not just, I don't want to focus on the church specifically, but the Catholic Church, they have been used to often marginalise, to use that word, people who don't fit into their liked categories, shall we say? Like, for example, people who are gay, for instance. That's a nice easy one.
Yes.
We can go through other categories like that, but that's just the first one off the top of my head. And we will have an example of that later, talking about that specifically. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, I get, yes, that it's a very, very, it's an incredible portrayal of religion and the church and Christianity in general, I would say. It looks at it in a very glowing light, kind of like how Silence of the Lambs does that with the FBI. Puts the FBI in a perfect light, and of course I have some issues with that, and I have some issues with this as well. And the fact that they have the cowardice of changing Frollo's from being, an archdeacon to the Minister of Justice of Paris is, just adds to that, the cherry on top, if you will. So don't really like that. So one last note on this from Wikipedia on religion. So according to the film's production notes, Quasimodo is symbolically viewed as being an angel in the devil's body. He is trapped between heaven above and the gritty streets of urban Paris below, viewed as hell. The version of the alphabet Quasimodo recites in a daily ritual reflects Frollo's view of the world, full of abominations and blasphemy. He is also constantly reminded he is deformed, ugly, a monster, and an outcast who would be hated if he ever left the confines of the church. Yeah, there you go, the confines of the church. Yeah, there you go. And that's it. Like the society stows away this ugly thing that they don't want, but the church accepts him. That's
Yeah.
The film also criticizes materialism. When Esmeralda sings "God help the outcast," she walks in the opposite direction of the more prosperous worshippers who are praying for material and earthly rewards. One literary device included in the song is the use of contrast and irony. The rich citizens pray for their wealth, fame, and for glory to shine on their names, while the destitute Esmeralda prays for the poor and the downtrodden. So there you go. Materialism is wrong. Is this movie Marxist? Well, let's see. Okay, so now let's talk about a character we've talked about a bit previously, but let's talk about him a bit more. It's Frollo, of course, and I think this is a message, Michael, about Frollo. It's healthy not to, be sexual, basically. You brought it all up and you become a fascist, basically. He needs to get laid, does Frollo. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And let's not, women have the job of being the anti-fascists to go out and bang creepy old men to stop them becoming fascists. It's obviously he's like the thing about this villain is I think you could make an argument that Frollo is the most, in some sense, interesting Disney villain ever. The thing is, I think you can make some issues with maybe execution, but all other Disney villains, I think, are just very on-the-nose evil in quite an uncomplicated way, in a way where they almost admit they're evil. Scar wants to be really powerful and is willing to kill people to do that. And
everyone just want power. They just there's no internal struggle.
Whereas
like this guy.
Frollo's shtick is he wants the world. I guess he wants the world to be pure, and also he wants the world to be pure because of his own sense of sinfulness, which he sees reflected in the world. I don't think that's reading too much into his character. I think that's basically a pretty clear summary of his motivations. True, He has sin, and therefore he wants to wipe out all the sin he sees in the world as a proxy for dealing with his own sin. And that's it's that idea is something which I don't think there's any other Disney villain who even comes close to that in terms of intrigue.
He needs to take some time off, really get to know himself,
Yeah, have a staycation.
Exactly.
A me-cation. The thing is, I do say with the execution, I think sometimes it's a bit on the nose. And the one thing which I remember picking out as very on the nose was when he says, "Of my virtue, I am justly proud," and it's a bit it's so kind of obviously that's with Christianity, one of the big themes is that you shouldn't be prideful. And you should admit that you're a sinner. And I can understand that obviously there's going to be people who claim to be Christian who don't do that and do kind of have the whole holier than thou thing is literally about Christians. But I wish it was a bit more subtle, and that's just a minor thing. That was when he's just of my virtue I am justly proud, and it's I don't think anyone would ever really say that. But to be honest, that's it though. That's kind of the only issue I have. I think.
Yeah, no, but you're right. It's a great character. It's
It's basically a microcosm of because one of the things we're saying about the whole film is that it deals with these very complicated themes and it can't quite deliver on them because it's a Disney film. And I feel that's kind of true of this character. It's a great character, and I feel it could have been delivered on a bit more if this wasn't a Disney film where things do have to be a bit more accessible for children. But it's still really good.
He's great, and it shows again that the danger I mentioned before, genocides could be committed in the name of religion. It's the same thing. I get this guy clearly hates himself to a certain degree, but still he wants to wipe the world out of sin because he's ashamed of the sin inside him. It's he wants to make the world pure, because and of course the reason why he thinks this way, no doubt, is it's because of his religion and what that religion means to him. So also on Frollo, producer Don Hahn evaluated that one inspiration from Frollo was found in Ralph Fiennes' performance as Aemon Goth in Schindler's List, who murders Jews yet desires his Jewish maid. So that was the inspiration. That's the thing with Esmeralda.
Oh yeah. That's quite a funny Schindler's List inspires a Disney.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. Yeah, he's a villain, which is it's very interesting. It's very interesting about how men covet women who they hate, basically.
And that's a theme. I mean, obviously, it's.
What other Disney villains?
I feel a lot of.
That?
No. Maybe. Oh, let's be fair. There's this whole a lot of people say Scar. I think a lot of gay people think that Scar has quite big gay energy. So maybe Scar secretly wanted to bang. Even though Mufasa was also his brother, so maybe that's a bit too much.
Scar's code is gay. Why? Because he's evil.
Yeah, I don't really know where it comes from. It's
why?
I think it's because of the bit where he goes, "Oh, I'll practice my curtsy."
Great.
Like people think like that's kind of like a bit camp.
Okay.
That's what I've heard.
Okay, well,
But I should clarify, it's gay people saying that's not. So it's not me. I'm not saying that he's gay just because he's effeminate or whatever.
or just because he's evil. That was the joke I made. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Well, yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
Anyway, well, let's get on to talking a bit about this because, of course, this movie has, it deals with sexual topics, I guess, and that is quite unusual for a kids' movie. So this is from Wikipedia. Criticism additionally generated among viewers over whether the film is too scary or too violent, and whether the storyline, which involves issues of sexual obsession and religion, might be too adult for children. Jason Alexander, who voices the gargoyle Hugo in the film, noted, I love that Jason Alexander, who plays that character, is talking about this. Disney would have us believe that this movie is like the Ringling Brothers, for children of all ages. He would not take his then 4-year-old child to view the film. However, some newspaper publications reported child audiences being unaffected by the mature content, praising the film. Further accusations were made of the film having homosexual undertones, noticeably with the song Out There being the name of a gay pressure group and as a call to come out of the closet. I was thinking that when Quasimodo was singing that, I was like, oh, Quasimodo's gay, he wants to come out of the closet, like jokingly. But no, apparently actually people thought that. In June 1996, the Southern Baptist Convention voted overwhelmingly to urge its 16 million members to boycott Disney films, theme parks and merchandise to protest behaviour it believes disparages Christian values. The cause of the protest stemmed from the company's domestic partnership policy and gay and lesbian theme days at Walt Disney. However, Gary Trousdale, who's of course the director, also claimed the Baptists were outraged over the casting of Demi Moore as Esmeralda, as she had just come off the controversial movie Striptease, which of course we're going to review later this year, in which she played an exotic dancer. And you contrast the Southern Baptist Church being outraged by Demi Moore playing an exotic dancer, and Mary Magdalene. Yeah, is that right, Michael? Yeah. Okay,
yes.
Good. So yeah, that's again the Southern Baptist Church or the Southern Baptist Convention is their official title. Yeah, it does appear again they are one of the people who Frollo would kind of fit in with, it seems, and that. So yes, the movie does show the church and Christianity in a good light. However, as you can see from the response from the Southern Baptist Convention, which apparently had 16 million members back in '96, so not a small church, you can see how the irony is. The response to this movie by one of the casting shows that maybe the church, one of the points of the movie, it doesn't really work, does it?
That is quite there. That is actually really. I mean, obviously these hypocrisies are. I mean, they're so obvious that it kind of makes it again quite ridiculous that the film was like afraid to point out like that these hypocritical people do exist within, like I say, all churches. Well, most churches.
Here's the thing, though: a lot of religious people did like the movie, but again, the Southern Baptist Church, it exists. Like 60, it exists. Like we can't, And it's
I think it's like the biggest church in America after the Catholic
probably.
Church.
Again, I would say a cowardly decision, perhaps. But anyway, there you go. So, Michael, those are all the themes. Again, quite nice to talk about all that for a Disney movie. But let's talk about the songs now. So, the Bells of Notre Dame is first. You got some nice operatic music in there, and quite a nice, decent start to the movie, wouldn't you say?
No, I mean, I think obviously it's one of the good things music can do is like give you exposition, and this is like a classic example of that. So you basically get to hear the entire backstory.
The expository first song in the film, of course. Yes, instead of just saying it, why don't we sing it?
Arabian Nights.
We've got Out There next.
Yes.
Frollo sings the first bit, and then Quasimodo sings the rest of it. He's basically it basically turns into the I Want song. I want to be out there.
Yes, exactly.
But very, very obvious and not particularly memorable. And then you got Topsy Turvy, Michael, which of course you referenced earlier.
Yes.
You got that jester character singing it. He's really the MVP of this.
Well, actually, no, I didn't mention this, but I thought it was like a clever idea to have him introduce the backstory, because obviously, I think that those sort of traveling stage shows are something which gypsies have been historically quite famous for. So it's kind of like a good way to. I thought that was clever, and I didn't give them credit for that. But
Right.
So we love the gypsy singer.
Good. Then we've got God Help the Outcasts, sung by Esmeralda. Again, just a very simple.
It didn't leave much of an impression with me, because to be honest, I didn't even write it down.
What it's trying to say is God help the outcasts, help the people who are poor. That's what God is meant to do, and that's what it's all about, really. At the end of the day, so then we have probably the best song in the movie, well, definitely Hellfire.
On fire.
On fire.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's the earworm one, isn't it?
I mean, it's the more memorable song from this movie, I think. You know, there are some which are completely forgettable, but others are like, okay, this one is one of the good ones, you know.
Yeah.
So one, not just, you know, good, it's great. It's a great song. And you got, of course, you know, it's a very personal song for this villain as well. And you get his internal struggle, like we said, and all the themes that brings it up. It's great.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think it's like one of those ones where like you want to actually listen to the song from the film, because like the way I'm thinking about it, like there are some other songs I can think of where it's like I like the tune, but I'm happy just to have the tune in my head. Like I don't feel the need to actually find the song. But in this case, it's kind of like there's so much going on, like the loud orchestral noise and like that you want to actually hear it as it is in the film, because your head can't even do it justice.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, no, it's great. I'm going to listen to it after we do finish this review. Then we got A Guy Like You.
Okay. Now,
go on.
I love this song.
Oh, do you?
No, here's the thing about this song. It has what I think might be my favorite lyric in any Disney song ever,
Is
or
it
any
a
Disney
Quasimodo
film.
lyric?
Yes.
Yes.
It's so like I was actually considering putting it as a lit pick, and I thought no,
it's so mean.
It's like you're shaped like a croissant is, and it's to rhyme with the Adonis. And the thing is, like, it's one of those lyrics where it's like it's basically the so bad it's good of lyrics, because it's like it's so kind of hackneyed to be like, let's rhyme Adonis with croissants.
Well, at least, no, I will give it credit for at least it made me think again. Oh yeah, this movie is actually set in France.
Yeah, that's true.
So there you go. Yeah.
It's just like it's such a great. I love it.
No, it is, and yeah, the gargoyles finally get it. The gargoyles are. I mean, people don't like the gargoyles. That's the sense I get.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, this song is just a complete waste of time. Really.
That's it. You're shaped like a croissant is.
Yeah, but this is the here's the thing. It's got those lyrics and sung by these characters, which are just the side characters. But another big problem is that it's well, I said before, it's pointless, and that's because these gargoyles are the hype man for Quasimodo, if you will. They're hyping up, saying, "Oh yeah, you can get with Esmeralda, no problems." But
they're wrong.
They're wrong. Literally, like 2 minutes later.
I know. Yeah, it does feel
she
pointless.
She kisses another guy right in front of him.
Yeah, they probably, I don't know, like the pacing there, I think they really need to work out. Like it should have been, I think this song should have been earlier.
We put so much time and effort into that song, and just literally 2 minutes later.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of in The Simpsons where they sing the song to save the burlesque house, and then Marge shows up and destroys it anyway. It's literally the equivalent.
Okay, yeah, I mean, just and again, it's like, the thing is, they were singing it, and the first time I was watching it, I was like, yeah, but they say, oh, he's differently shaped, but he's ugly.
Yeah, he's got character.
Oh, no one's like him. Yeah, but that's not a good thing, though.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. No other Grand Prix circuit is like the Sochi Autodrome, but that's not a good thing. Anyway, sorry. So, the Court of Miracles, Michael. The Court of Miracles is the last song, and again, an upbeat kind of song.
I like the lyric about being found perfectly innocent is the worst crime of all. Although I guess like you'd have to unpack like what thematically does that mean. But as a line where you don't really think about it, it's kind of like it sounds kind of clever. It's like, oh,
means you have to do if you get through life not having to do anything criminal, then you're It's basically like, okay, to survive, and if you're poor, to survive you have to do stuff underhand.
Well, you've got to pick a pocket or two, as our favourite Fagin once said in Oliver.
Yeah, you got to pick a pocket. Yeah, exactly.
In this life, one thing counts. In the bank, large amounts.
Yeah, and it's like Parasite, when that woman says like, oh yeah, rich people they can iron out the creases. It's kind of the same thing. If you're innocent, then you got a lot of money, and then you don't know how it is to live a life in poverty, as it were. So yeah, that's the message, I guess. Anyway, Michael, so we shall conclude now.
Actually, I've got one positive thing to say, which I should probably say before the conclusion. And it is that I actually really like the fact that Quasimodo ends up alone at the end of this film. And I like it because I'm kind of surprised. It feels like and the thing is, obviously, I don't know if you noticed, but in the Hunchback of Notre Dame 2,
I know, he
gets it with someone. And it feels like it's a thing that you could imagine Disney doing. And it's just something which, would feel so unrealistic. And obviously, I'm not going to say like it's good that ugly people end up alone, but it is realistic. No, it's realistic that ultimately people tend to go for their leagues.
They avoid that. The placement of Cats and Phoebus is correct because they avoid Esmeralda saying, you're the best person I've ever met. But face though. Yeah,
and I think it's like, also, so there's like one, it's realistic, but the other thing is it's kind of dare I say, woke. No, basically, I mean, it's nice to have a film where the main character doesn't get the girl at the end.
That's what I kind of said before with Quasimodo. He's like he lets Esmeralda, his love interest, be with another person. And
Yeah.
He's cool with it.
And it's like, it's good that they're friends. I mean, it's like the opposite to how I felt at the end of the Avatar: The Last Airbender cartoon series when Avatar gets with. Okay, yeah, but basically, all I'm saying is, and the thing is, like, if they had done that, my opinion on the film would be considerably worse. Like, if this film ended with like Quasimodo, I don't know, does meet a girl, like they tried to shove in a love interest for him, and it was like kind of just a generic Disney kind of sort of, like obviously in the second film, I would dislike this film a lot more, so I figured it was worth mentioning as a thing. Anyway, I will just conclude now. So this film, I said I liked it, and the thing is, it's ultimately the things I like about this film are there, and it's interesting. I think the plot is a bit, but to an extent, I think that is quite a common thing with Disney films. Like, at the end of the day, these classic Disney films, that they can have pretty good plots, but they're always going to be, a bit limited. So I don't really hold the plot against the film too much. I think actually artistically, this film was quite good. Like, I did like the things they did with the fact that it was centered around this Notre Dame, which is obviously a really attractive looking building. And also I think the music, even while a lot of the songs weren't very memorable, the music does have a very distinct character, and I really like that. And of course, also the film has, I think, the most interesting villain ever. And I think it also has some really interesting themes. And the only thing that holds it back is, of course, that it is Disney, and obviously that Disney's a bit silly, and it's kind of hard to take Disney seriously as like making a film about genocide. And unfortunately, the only other thing is the fact that people say, oh, the gargoyle is a bit silly relative to the overall film. But to be honest, again, it's like, I feel like weird saying this because it's kind of one of those things people shouldn't really say, but it's Disney, and it's kind of just like, I like it. At the end of the day, I think I'd rather watch this film than a fully faithful adaptation of Victor Hugo where everyone dies at the end, and there are no funny gargoyles talking about croissants. So with that said, I don't know if this is going to seem generous, but I would give this film a low 7. So, I mean, it's a 7, low 7, but a 7. What do you think?
Well, I think, Michael, I think it's not far off what I'd rate it, but again, I think the plot is probably, a bit lazy, predictable, like I said. Well, not a bit, quite a bit. And, I don't like it. And at least the themes in this movie, they give the movie some much-needed juice, they do. The anti-genocide thing is something I approve of. I like that. And, the monster or man thing, it makes sense, of course, with the Hunchback and this evil guy Frollo, and who is the monster, who is the man, who's the angel, who's good and who's evil, even though society may say something different. The Minister of Justice and this lowly Hunchback, it's great. I like all that. So that's a good theme, and the religion is great and good, and it's just a cop out, and I don't agree with it anyway. And you talk about the gargoyles, in this movie, and it's a weird contrast with the themes I've laid out, but I feel the same way. At least it's in there, man. At least it's in there. And the villain Frollo is great, and Hellfire is great, and that does upgrade it a bit. So I'm gonna give this movie probably a 6.5, Michael, out of 10. 6.5 for me. Slightly lower than you, but still a decent rating. But anyway, Michael, we need to guess now, Cruella, what Rotten Tomatoes score it's going to get. So this is our first guess of the year.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's very exciting, isn't it? So, Cruella, Michael, on the count of 3, you will tell me what you think it's going to get on Rotten Tomatoes, what score it's going to get. So, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So, 3, 2, 1,
86.
So, you went for 86, I went for 83. Yep.
Yeah, I think it will possibly do. I mean, I know that we've over-predicted for the last, like, Mulan and Lion King, but I think this one, it's got Emma Stone in it, so I feel like she's usually in good things, except for when she's not. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking like she's usually in. She's got like a reputation for being a kind of good actress.
Okay, well, 86 to 83, that is the guess. What are we doing next week, Michael?
Well, next week we are reviewing a film where the ugly, disgusting person does get a girlfriend. So obviously it must be terrible, because a film where ugly people get girlfriends are bad. It's Shrek.
Yes, it is Shrek. And of course that'll be the 20-year anniversary of that. There was a great Guardian article that came out in the past week about Shrek, and we'll be looking at that next week. But thank you for listening. We have been selecting and reflecting on the Hunchback of Notre Dame and the Hunchback of Notre Dame as well. Join us next week for Shrek. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.